Good morning, everybody. I'm Tatum. I'm your Student Alliance External Affairs Director, which is part of your student government. And welcome to the GRCC Alumni panel. I'd like to thank the GRCC staff for setting up the room and creative dining for the refreshments, the cookies and the juices on your table. Feel free to drink and eat as much as you would like. And I would like to welcome the panelists. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves.
Sure. My name is Anthony Helmholdt. I attended GRCC between 2005 and 2009. Yeah.
I am Hilda Martinez-Gutierrez, and I attended GRCC from 2007 till 2010.
Good morning. My name is Sammy A. Publis, and I attended GRCC in 1995 through 1997.
Good morning, my name is Danavia Moje, and I attended GRCC between 2012 and 2015.
Okay, so we'll get started. So this is for everybody. Can you guys tell us about your journey from GRCC to where you are now?
Sure, I'll start. We can just go down the line. My journey from GRCC to now, it was quite an interesting one. I attended GRCC while working full-time as an auto mechanic. I was going to the automotive technology program, which is kind of a separate campus, but also had a lot of classes on the main campus as well. During that time, I also elected to take just courses that I was interested in, such as electronics, CNC programming, and welding. And I used those skills to actually kind of make a physical resume. I actually built and raced an electric motorcycle that I built in 2009. That actually got me a job at Tesla Motors because of that invention that I created, basically. Because of that, I've been working with Tesla basically ever since for 7 years, and now we're endeavoring into autonomous vehicle technology and all sorts of crazy things. So that's how I got to here.
I started GRCC 10 years ago. So in 2007, I was a freshman here, straight out of high school. But before that, I was new to the state. So I had moved here from New Jersey 4 years prior to that. And so, yeah, I was new to the state, brand new student, looking to pursue a college education, not knowing exactly what I wanted to do. So I remember that first day. It was right after, it was sometime in June of 2007. I walked into the enrollment center and I showed up just looking to apply. And then I was welcomed by happy and warm faces that have helped me through that application process. And soon after that, the supervisor in the enrollment center was like, you know what, you'd be great to work here. Why don't you apply? And not thinking anything of it, I'm like, okay, hey, I'm a first generation college student. I'm new to this. Let's just try and see where this leads. So later, somewhere after that, I had applied, interviewed. And while I was in that interview with that supervisor, you know, she's asking me, okay, so what are you interested in? What do you want to do? And my only response to her was like, you know what, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I do have a passion to work with people. I at least know that. And so from there was the beginning of that conversation, right? She hired me weeks after that, and I was able to be immersed, right? Work with so many different types of people, make long-lasting friendships. I mean, the people that I met in the enrollment center 10 years ago are still my lifelong friends today. Like, our kids play with each other today. And so it was just an experience. You know, some of the things that I learned there were just lifelong skills. And so from there, I finished off my associate's degree in 2010, went off to Western. I studied family studies. And then from there, graduated in 2013, did a little bit more work in our West Michigan community, and then I pursued a master's degree in 2014, so.
The way I got to GRCC was I got kicked out of public school several times. I don't say that as a badge of honor, but just the reality. And I ended up going to an alternative high school, Horizons, which is no longer in existence. And then there I was on the verge of getting kicked out again, I come from an immigrant family. I was born in Cuba and came here when I was 11. So culturally, it was hard for us to adjust to a lot of the systems here. So we would just get in trouble for regular things that, talking too much, being too social, what have you. And so at this last school, the alternative school was my last chance. And I was being walked to the office to be asked to leave the school permanently. And the English teacher came out. Her name is Jackie Friend. And she made a deal with the principal and said, let me keep him in my classroom. And then she made a deal with me. She said, if you can stay quiet for the 50 minutes, the last 10 minutes you can tell jokes, tell stories, do whatever you want. And that's how I found my passion for acting. Being that she was a supporter of Actors Theater, which had their initial home here at GRCC at the old little church up the hill, she put me in touch with Fred Sobolski, who was the theater department head there. She helped me fill out my application. She did pretty much everything for me. As Hilda said, I'm also a first-generation college student, so my family didn't really know how to navigate those waters. So if it wasn't for her, I would have never attended GRCC. And so that's why I found my passion for acting. I came here for 2 years, then I went on to Western, got my bachelor's there, and I moved to Chicago, and I've been acting ever since. And I recently moved back about 5 years ago. And I brought a lot of my life experiences, the networking that I had done, the relationships that I had built. And I started 2 businesses. One of them is Mixed Roots Collective, which is a theater company here in town. We currently have an art price entry over at 333 Rumsey. You guys can see that. And also One World Diversity. And One World Diversity, along with my partners Todd Lewis and Shelley Urbane, was more of the corporate side on how to bring theater into the corporate world. While we do diversity and inclusion training, it's been very successful, especially this last year. And I still do, my acting. I still work out of Chicago, film, television, what have you. But yeah, that's how my journey kind of came through GRCC.
Well, I also am from a family that's pretty diverse. I'm a first-generation college student. My hometown is actually Benton Harbor, Michigan. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Benton Harbor, but that's where I was born and raised. Parents, like I said, definitely put an emphasis on going to college. Didn't necessarily have all the answers on how I was supposed to get there. I was one of those people who had a plan all through high school, got good grades. I did pageants. I was Miss Benton Harbor. I did Blossom Time. I had scholarships. I did internships at the global headquarters of Whirlpool, and I had a presidential scholarship to Michigan Tech University. And keep in mind, I had never been to the UP before. Michigan Tech is at the very top of the Upper Peninsula. I had never been to the Upper Peninsula before, but I told everyone I was going to use my presidential scholarship to go to Michigan Tech and double major in computer and electrical engineering. So when I graduated from high school, I got a key to the city of Benton Harbor. I waved all my friends goodbye, and my parents drove 12 hours to drop me off in the UP. And I was the only African-American female in the entire incoming class. And keep in mind, I'm from Benton Harbor, which is about 99% black. And so it was a bit of culture shock. It was so distracting and so isolating to me that I started to discover that I didn't even like engineering. I didn't know who to tell, that I didn't feel like I was working out at a big university. I hated it. And then came the 12 feet of snow. And then came just a million other things that let me know that I was miserable. And I internalized this as to kind of feel like I had failed. I was like, oh my God, I went to college and I hate college. College is not for me. And I secretly deferred my enrollment and didn't tell my parents, drove back to Benton Harbor to work that summer, found out that my grandma had cancer, and was like, okay, cannot tell my parents that I'm not going back to the UP. And my best friend, the only person that I had told that my grandma had cancer, lived here in Grand Rapids. His name was DJ. And DJ was going to GRCC. He was a student orientation leader, and he loved GRCC. He was having so much fun in Grand Rapids. And when I came to visit him, he just seemed like he loved being in the city. And I was like, man, Grand Rapids seems really cool. Like, GRCC seems really nice. I don't know what I want to study, but I know I don't want to be in engineering. So I just secretly moved myself to Grand Rapids. My friend, who was a student leader, scheduled my classes, and there I was going to school at GRCC, living downtown, and having the time of my life. DJ went on to move to Chicago, going to Columbia for his arts program there. And then I was in Grand Rapids kind of by myself. And I signed up to be a student employee. I applied to work at the bookstore first. And I was working at the bookstore, making a lot of connections. And then I ended up working in the student life office and working with the enrollment center. And the more connected I got on campus, the more I found the deeper my passion was for really community work. So kind of to fast forward to today, I've graduated with my Bachelor's of Science from Grand Valley. I'm studying for law school right now. I'm currently the full-time strategic communications coordinator for Link Up, a large revitalization nonprofit in Grand Rapids. And I also do radio. I have a weekly radio show called Political Pulse with Denavia Moget on 97.3 The Beat. So I love urban radio. Me and some other community leaders founded about a year ago a political action committee called Equity PAC, where we have given out thousands of dollars to candidates that are going to advance equity. We decided that we needed to be impactful in shifting political structures, and that's what we decided to do. In addition to that, I also sit on the board of Well House, and that's a nonprofit that works to end homelessness in Grand Rapids. And I think a lot of those connections that I made and a lot of confidence that I gained to embark upon the endeavors that I've been a part of now came out of being at GRCC, connecting with folks like Rondo Cooper and the folks at the counseling office that I could just come bug and tell all my ideas to. Here at GRCC, I just made a lot of connections with a lot of the professors and a lot of the folks who, I met President Jimmy Carter when he came to GRCC because I was a student here, and had so many other phenomenal experiences that gave me the confidence to do more around the city of Grand Rapids, and so I'm still very involved today.
So Hilda and Sammy, you both touched on mentors in your life that impacted you. Could you talk more about the role that your mentor played and how they connected with you to get you to where you are today?
Yeah, so that supervisor in the enrollment center played a crucial role as a mentor to me. One of the things she said to me early on was, you have to learn how to be a natural observer of all people. And at 18 years old, I'm like, what does that mean? And she's like, you'll get it. With time, you'll get it. You work in a crucial role. You are the front face of the college. When people walk in, they're going to be greeted by you. They're going to see your face. Some, or the majority of people, are going to relate with the face that they see. So you have to be careful. You don't have to always experience everything just by being that natural observer. And I took that was a new concept. I ran with it. I fell in love with what she said, and she's like, always remember, think of that one man or woman that uses up their last piece of change to take the bus to come over here down to GRCC to apply. Think about their journey. Think about what has led someone to show up here in front of you. Be kind, be compassionate. Give them all that you have, right? And if you don't know it, then pass it on to someone else. Like, acknowledge that. And she's just talking to me about get to know, develop a knowledge of self, develop who you are, and this is the time to do it. She's like, I know you're new. I know you're still feeling like you don't want to be in Michigan, like you want to go back home to Jersey, like this may be not a place where you fit in, but give GRCC a chance. Like, give yourself a chance, right? To grow and to develop and to learn different things. And by meeting different people, you'll learn a lot about yourself in that process. And so a lot of what I did was just put myself in that position to just do just that, right? To listen to her, to observe lots of people, to meet a lot of diverse individuals that came to me looking for help, right? And so that particular person, which is still a mentor to me today, right? Who's been in like monumental moments in my life and me and hers, I always go to that. I'm like, it started with that conversation. It started with that moment, and it started with that interview in your office where you're telling me these things that at the moment, I'm just taking it all in, soaking it in. But that was one of the key things that impacted me, and I just took it forth.
As far as mentors, I think, especially as children of color, meaning African American, Latino, this whole concept of mentors is pretty foreign to us because we understand the hookup, meaning that we know the person we can go to get something done. But the broader idea of mentoring and networking is kind of strange to us and a lot of students that I speak with, because mentoring involves over time. It's not just a quick fix for something that you need. And part of the responsibility in mentoring is honesty and responsibility. So if you say you're going to be somewhere, then you're going to be at that place. And you expect the same way for your mentee, not just as kind of like a passing by kind of thing. Oh yeah, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. And so for me, I learned that through my mentor, both of them, who were Jackie Friend, as I mentioned, my high school English teacher, and Fred Sobalski here at GRCC. So much so that I got to see other parts of the world that I wasn't aware of. I got to learn about LGBT issues, particularly working at the theater department, because I worked in the work study. Through my work study, I worked at the box office, and I remember Fred had this triangle upside down in his office that used to say safe space. And for like the first year, I had no idea what that meant. I would just see students come in. Sometimes they would leave crying, and I never really asked till one day I decided to ask Fred, what happens in that room? Why people come out crying and some people come out really happy. And then he started explaining to me what he did and what his role was in the larger scheme of things and support here at GRCC, which then opened my mind up not only to equality and issues of diversity, but to a whole population that me as a Cuban kid coming to this country had never really thought about. We didn't really talk about LGBT issues in my family, and I think that's a cultural thing too in a lot of Latino families. But through Fred, I was able to kind of look through that lens, which impacts my work today. Through Fred, I learned the importance of doing what you say you're going to do, be there on time, especially in theater. Nothing takes importance over the show. So if the show starts at 8 and somebody passed away in your family at 7:45, you still got to go on stage at 8 o'clock, get that done, and then you deal with whatever happens at 9:30. If you break your leg, whatever it may be, because of the people that are coming to see you have set aside time, not only money, but time to come see this particular. They don't care what's going on in your personal life, and really your responsibility is to deliver at that time. So I learned a lot of that through my mentors, and because I was a man of my word and I did the things that I was going to say, my mentor was then able to put me in different positions or maybe guide me in different spots where he knew that I wasn't going to make him look bad, make the program look bad. So then I found myself in a lot of more responsibilities in my roles at the theater. I took that with me to Western as well. I think I learned to be an independent thinker, to ask a lot of whys. Why does this have to be this way? Which then informs what I do today with my mentality and how I approach my business. My whole idea has always been not to work for anybody else, it's to work for myself. So I'm a stay-at-home dad, but I also have all these other ventures that I take part in. And I learned a lot of that from my mentors here at GRCC. And I'm continuing to do that with Tom Cackley and Shelley Urbane as well at the theater department as my adult mentors, if you will. Because the network never stops. Like you need to continue to build those relationships. And if you're responsible in those relationships, they will be reciprocated back to you when opportunities arise.
Okay, so Tony and Denavia, you guys talked about how you got your foot in the door, and you got into all these great opportunities by getting connected. Can you guys talk on how did you get your foot in the door and involved with the right people?
Oh boy, how did I get involved with the right people? Well, for me, it was more of building a physical resume. I always kind of had this idea a long time ago that if I built something to showcase my skills and my attributes, mine being an electric motorcycle and racing it, that would kind of get me noticed and hopefully get me a career in the direction I wanted to go. So it was kind of a shot in the dark, honestly. I didn't know if it would work or not, but that was kind of the direction I was going with that. And all of the classes I took during college were kind of focused on that goal. Not even necessarily my associate's degree, which I did complete, but I also took several elective classes that worked towards that. The instructors were also very helpful. I made sure to kind of always leave my class without a question. If you ever had a question leaving a class, I'd stay after, I'd ask the professor, I'd say, hey, can you kind of go over this again? I didn't really understand it. Can you show me exactly how to do that if it was something with, welding or CNC machining or anything like that? So those kind of, I didn't specifically have like one mentor maybe going through college, but I had several. I kind of consider all of my technical instructors my mentors, because I would pick their brains consistently, probably to the point of annoyance, but it got me to where I am today, and that's kind of how I got my foot in the door.
I think for me, because I've always been pretty political, I've always believed in the power of networking. In between GRCC and today, some of the experiences that I've had and the opportunities that I've been afforded have literally been just from being bold enough to dare to speak up in a space where people want to know who you are, and they don't want to know who you are if you decide to be silent. And so I've always just kind of believed in the power of networking. I've decided to be present at whether it's a city commission meeting, whether it's a state representative coffee date, it's coffee with the chief of police. If I have concerns, people will hear them. And I'm just one of those people who really believes that the world around me and the people around me matter, and that the strength in who I am is not necessarily in being Denavia Moget, but really in being a connector. And so I'm that person who capped out her Facebook friends a long, long time ago. Cannot go over 5,000. That is just who I've always been. I've always been, let's exchange business cards. Let's connect. Let's do coffee. Let's do lunch. And when you're someone who's very passionate about improving the community, outside of a business card that says I'm a strategic communications coordinator, if in your heart, at your core, you're really a community builder and you're passionate about it, you can connect with people that want to see you thrive and succeed. So. For example, for me, when you speak to kind of getting your foot in the door, I told the mayor, at the time it was George Hartwell, when I was going to GRCC. I said, you know what, I want to be more connected. I want to do more in the community. I need some mentors. I need you to assign me some mentors. Give me some targets that I'm going to make my mentors. That's literally what I said to him several times. To the point where he saw me, he goes, I know my homework assignment. I have to get you some mentors. And then he went home and emailed Commissioner Sunita Lanier, Commissioner Ruth Kelly, then Commissioner Rosalind Bliss, who's now the mayor, and was just like, this young lady is passionate about politics. And she is so passionate about the world around her. And I was telling him all about my experiences at GRCC at the time. I was the president of the Grand Rapids Community College Foreign Affairs Club. And we used to go to these conferences in Chicago for Model United Nations through Professor Keith St. Clair. We used to meet right here at Sneeden. And I loved doing that. And I loved coming back to Grand Rapids from that experience of meeting with college students from all over the country and trying to tackle all the world's problems in one weekend. And then coming back to Grand Rapids oh, good, we solved world hunger. I used to love that. And I talked to the mayor about those experiences. And so he kind of assigned me some mentors who I still call up today, who I still work with today. And those people, when they have ambitions, I made sure I said, I'm more than willing to start on the ground floor learning. I've always been someone who said, hey, teach me something. I don't need to make $1 million right now. I need to learn. And so when Rosalind's like, I'm running for this seat or that seat, I would love to volunteer. You need me to canvass? I have no idea what that means. We didn't canvass in Ben Harbor, but you can teach me. I'm very teachable. And experiences like that later led to me being the campaign manager for David LeGrand as he ran for State House, who's today the representative for the district that we're sitting in right now. Running that campaign came from a get your foot in the door kind of moment. Leaving that campaign to consult on several more campaigns and working for the Downtown Development Authority, those were all get your foot in the door kind of moments. Mayor George Hartwell said, we got the Mayor's 100 program. You should do this program. And I was sitting at the Student Life office talking to my then boss, Molly, about how I wanted to try and get this internship for the city. And I talked to Mayor Hartwell and talked to some people at our Communities Children office. I've never been someone to just send an email. You're going to see my face. So I went down to the city hall to talk to them about the internship program. And they're like, I think we have the perfect position for you. And I came in on the ground level. I always, confidently introduced myself, told people exactly what I was passionate about, and asked how I could help make my community better and let them find a way to fit me in. And whether that was in a volunteering capacity, an interning capacity, and then later a management capacity, I was always confident enough to tell people exactly who I am and exactly what I think I'm supposed to be doing on this world, and how can we work together to make sure we're doing that. And so that's kind of been my get my foot in the door philosophy from day one, and it's kind of worked pretty well for me. I think I'm blessed to be where I am. I'm 24, and I sit on a lot of panels. A few weeks ago, I was on NPR, Michigan Radio, stateside, talking about Equity PAC, and not because I have a doctorate or I wrote a book, because I give out my business card and I connect with people, I follow up, I send emails, and I do meetings, and I figure out how I can plug in and how I can make my community better, and then I don't stop until I feel like I've done that.
So Tony and Sammy, you both kind of talked about Tony, you talked about your struggles of creating a resume and not even know if it would work, but it was a shot in the dark. And Sammy, you talked about your struggles in high school. Can you guys say if there was anything that you would change or anything you learned during your experience or anything you would have done differently?
If there was anything I would do differently, I would actually have taken more elective classes. I would maybe even have done a second associate's degree. Honestly, I value the skills that I learned more than basically anything. The time I spent at GRCC doing these things really, really pushed me to kind of even create and do more things even past that. So if anything, I would have actually continued my schooling. Even I would now if I didn't work over 50, 60 hours a week. But the whole point of doing that was to basically create that physical resume, and it worked. And so, like I said, it was a shot in the dark, but you know, it was a challenge to get it done. You know, with working full time, going to school, and doing that on the side, it was a full schedule. And do I wish I had more time? Absolutely, but I don't regret it one bit.
I wouldn't change anything as far as my path getting here, except taking a geology class right after lunch that was 3 hours long, and I failed because I used to fall asleep all the time. Other than that, that was a bad move on my part. I learned my lesson, and I haven't done that ever since. No, you know, there was times where you know, there was time in my career where I was homeless, and I slept on the Red Line in Chicago for about a week right after the writer's strike. I had just moved to Chicago, and I was there for like, you know, a year and a half, and I was just getting momentum, and I was starting to get really good auditions, and the writer's strike hit, and I ended up just being homeless, sleeping wherever I could and on the train, because the Red Line runs 24 hours in Chicago. It's hard to get kicked off, and even if you do, you come back and jump on the other train because it runs 24/7. So during those times, I always thought, man, I wish I would have stayed in school, gotten my master's, gotten this and that. But what kept me going was the path that I knew that I was on, and I was very determined. A friend of mine once says that he's never made a plan B, because if he made a plan B, it meant that he was intending to use it. And so I kind of had that mentality without hearing that. I knew that acting, entertainment was my way for me to be happy, for me to be compassionate, for me to change my community, for me to touch others. So I knew that eventually something would pop off, something would come of it. And so I just stuck with it. And you know, because of the networks that I have built here at GRCC and at Western, you know, eventually I was able to move in with a friend and you know, and kind of get back on my feet. But I wouldn't change anything that I've ever been through, because it's made me who I am today. You know, as young people, you're going to mess up a lot, because that's part of the journey. The point is not how many times you fall down, but how many times you get up. So this is your time to mess up, because this is where you learn your strengths and your weaknesses. This is where you learn how much you can take and how much you can't take. And when you do find that threshold, that you just put a little pin in that. That's my threshold right there. And so everything else that you do forward is either trying to avoid that threshold, or when you get to that threshold, knowing what to do once you get there. If I know, for instance, for me, there are times that I'll go on a big audition and it gets sent to network, and there's all these different steps, right? I learned a long time ago that when I don't obtain those roles, my physical body changes. Like, I get depressed. Like, I'm just not a nice person to be around. So a couple years ago, my wife said, you know, you need to figure out like what happens during this time. And so what we're going to do is you're going to take 24 hours and just sulk in your misery. Just don't leave the house, you know, stay in your pajamas, stay on the couch, do whatever. But after that 24 hours, we got to start over again. And And having that train of thought with my partner and also the permission so it doesn't have to be weird around the house, we both know what's going on, has changed a lot of the way that I approach my work professionally. Because there are going to be those disappointments. As an actor, if you book 10% of the auditions you go on, you're doing pretty well. You probably go on about 2 or 3 a month. If we do that over the year, that's 36 to 40 auditions. 10% of that is 3.6 if we go with 36. So 3 times you're going to book something out of almost 40 times that you went out in front of people. So you have to learn to deal with that adversity. You have to figure out how to deal with that pain, with that sadness, and then move on, and then get back on the horse and then do it again. And that's what life is about, really. It's just another mirror of another situation. Life is going to knock you down. You're going to make mistakes. Okay, sulk it in. You know, it was a bad day. Tomorrow's a new day. You get right back on it. You might have failed a semester, failed a class. Okay, you did that. You got that out of your system. Now we start over. I think that's what it's all about. If you just sit in your own misery and don't do anything about it, that's when things go awry. That's when you start diverting from your passion, from your true mission.
So Sammy kind of touched on the adversity that he faced. Could Tony and Hilda and Danava, could you also talk about some adversity that you faced and how you overcame it during your journey here?
Some of the challenges I went through as a student in particular is, again, just being new to the whole college experience, not having that reference point, not knowing exactly the ins and outs, right? Not knowing when exactly to register for classes or who to go to, or maybe to have a certain, someone to go to here on campus besides that mentor that I had. I didn't really have a good experience with the advisors here on campus back when I was a student. And so for me, I said, all right, what do I do to change that? I'm not the type to be showing up at the counseling office to see an advisor. And what if they're not available? I don't have time for that, right? I need to learn this, and I need to learn this now, right? And so for me, being in that position where I worked here on campus as a student employee, I literally did research. I did lots of research. I'm like, how do I figure this out? How do I make sure that I teach myself first the things that I need to know as a student to be successful before someone comes in here asking me the same exact things, right? And so it took me a while. It took me, time to research, practice, but with time, I was able to figure that out. And it wasn't until, once I graduated GRCC with my associate's degree that I went off to Western. I ended up moving to Kalamazoo for a year. But then I came back over here to Grand Rapids for a job opportunity. And I was driving back and forth. Sometimes I had to drive from Grand Rapids to Kalamazoo 4 days a week. And my last semester of my undergraduate, I was pregnant. So I had to deal with that. I had to figure out, wait a minute, I have to, first of all, figure out what's happening inside me, all of this growth and changes, but also I have to continue on. I still have a year left to graduate. And I know that this is what I want to do. So it was a lot of back and forth, right? The driving part was a hassle, but I had to do it, right? My last semester of my undergraduate, I was 5 classes short, 15 credits before graduating. And I remember I went into the records office and I'm like, I need all 5 classes. I'm taking all 15 credits.
Like a boss.
And she's like, are you sure? Are you kidding me? And I was like, no, I'm doing it. I'm not waiting one more semester to graduate. And I did it, right? And it's working hard. So between online classes, driving, 45, 50 minutes, attending class, taking care of myself, I finished strong. There was no greater feeling than that day of graduating, to be on that stage on Western, December 2013. That was the best feeling in the world. I have chills talking about it right now, because I know I earned that, I did that, but it was hard to do. So to me, that was a challenge, right? But I did it. I recognized that I had those protective factors in place. I had my parents, I had my husband, right? I had individuals that are there that although they didn't quite know exactly how to help me and to what capacity, just by them being there, sitting next to, right, encouraging me, that's all the encouragement I needed. So they did what they had to do, and now I said, now I have to do what I have to do, right? I have to put in my work. But yeah, looking back at it, I'm like, I don't know how I did it or why I even chose to do what I did, but it has led me here.
You did too.
Yeah.
I actually had a similar experience just recently at Grand Valley. It was, and my thinking now is when I look at adversity or really any obstacle at all, my thought is always focus on where I'm going. Like, life is always going to be happening. I used to feel like, oh, I need to wait for a better time for this, or I have to wait for a better time when I can really focus for that. I realized you have to just stop giving your permission. You're giving yourself permission to wait and to stop and wait for the world to be perfect and go for it. You just have to push through sometimes. And that's been my testimony since day one, right? I came to Grand Rapids because I was largely raised by my grandma. My parents were there, but my grandma lived across the street. She had bought the house for us, and my parents divorced. I spent every day at my grandma's house. I stayed the night at my grandma's house. And when my grandma got cancer the first time, and then she recovered, then she got cancer a second time, had to go to surgery. I moved in with her, took care of her, then she recovered. 5 years went by, she was in remission, she was healthy. I was in the UP. When I came back, she had cancer a third time. And she didn't tell anybody. It's like that thing where everyone at church is like, you're the success story. And she's like, uh-oh, And so when I moved to Grand Rapids, I fully intended to be very much in Benton Harbor all the time. Like, as much as I could possibly be in Benton Harbor visiting my grandma, that was the plan. And then, of course, while I was here at GRCC, the third time, she did pass away. And so then I lost my grandma. And in addition to kind of losing someone you love, like there's loss, right? But she was like 70, she was getting older. She was still very lively and hilarious and all kinds of spunky and feisty, but she was getting older, right? It wasn't just losing her, it was losing a lot of support. When you're in college, sometimes you need someone that'll just send you some food. Like, sometimes you just need to eat. Like, you cannot just survive on ramen noodles for, like, forever. Like, you have to go eat real food at some point. And that was my grandma. She was real food. She was like, OMG, I got a ticket, and I have no money to pay this ticket. And she's going to give me a long lecture, but then she's going to give me the money to make sure that ticket gets paid as I'm leaving. So, like, I lost that, almost like the safety net. My grandma was the safety net for our whole family. She was the one who always understood finances, and she was the one who always understood. She always give in her own Southern way. She would kind of push you in one direction, but she kind of had it together. And so GRCC post-grandma was a completely different experience because it was really like I was doing everything by myself. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like I had the safety net that I had before that, just because I didn't always feel as close to, everyone else in my family as I did with my grandma. And so that obviously was adverse. It was very distracting. I even took a semester off to literally be depressed. I did nothing. I didn't go anywhere. I moved out to York Creek with some people that I had just met and just didn't know what I wanted to do. I just was like, well, I wasn't really talking to anybody in my family. I was just kind of just disappeared for a while. And then I had an uncle call me and tell me I needed to do something. And I drove right back downtown, applied for school, like re-enrolled, and decided to push through. That life happens. Honestly, there'll be 1,000,001 excuses. Everybody in this room is going to have life happen to them, and it's never convenient, okay? It's never the perfect time for that breakup, or OMG, that, whatever it is in your world, there's always gonna be adversity. And the focus is always what's on the other side of it. For me, I have a 1-year-old right now, and I went through my last semester at GRCC, at GVSU, actually, when I was working on my bachelor's for undergrad this past year. Being a mom and a student, a community activist, a consultant, all of the above, coming into 2017, 2016, coming into 2016, I was taking 5 classes. I was running a state house campaign. My 3-year-long boyfriend had just moved back to Michigan, so we were moving in together. And then I was pregnant, and I was just like, I am not going to let my GPA fall. I am not going to stop working. Like, my candidate has to win. I have to do this. I have to do that. And it was just never the convenient time. And so for me, it's just don't make excuses. You push through because it's something on the side of everything that's a distraction. It's like, it seems like it's never the perfect time to pursue whatever you're passionate about. It always seems like a bad time, but I think what I've learned in life and in finance is, right, you gotta, it's like this theory that I hear about, you always pay yourself. You always put something in your savings first. Put a little penny away every time. No matter what, you just push through investing yourself. And I've always been someone who said, okay, the world is happening, but what's gonna be investing in me? And my education has always been that. School has always been that. Okay, well, it's a lot going on right now. And yes, I have to be a mom. Yes, I have to be this and that. But I gotta invest in myself. And school is not something that I'm doing for now. It's something I'm doing for later. And so that's what gets me through adversity then and now and probably ever more, because even with a 1-year-old, right? Is it ever the perfect time for law school when you have so much going on in the world around you? It's like, oh, this is such an important time to get 10 times more politically active. And it's like, this is a good time to invest in myself as well. And so you just prioritize pushing through.
Yeah, I can't agree enough. Actually, investing in yourself, especially, there's never a good time. You can always make excuses, but I know there's a lot of people out here probably that are working, full or part time and going to school as well, and it seems like a lot, and you have those nights where you just want to say, why am I doing this, but you just got to push through, and like Hilda said, that day of graduation, it's all worth it. So, yep.
So this question is for everybody. How are you making an impact right now on your community or your field?
Okay, I'll start, sure. How am I making an impact? So when I started Mixed Roots Collective, people were asking me if this is going to be the Latino theater in Grand Rapids. Are you the Ebony Road Players, the African American theater? We all know about the other major theaters in town. And so are you that thing that you're going to be the Brown theater in town? And I said, no. I said, I'm going to do stuff that I'm passionate about. And yes, some of the stories are related to Latinos, to I don't like using the term Hispanic, but if it better helps you understand the Hispanic population. And then what ended up happening is I'm my own vessel. I don't need to wear a sign that says I'm Latino. I'm a Latino actor doing all these roles that in the past people thought was impossible to do. So that in itself is my vehicle for change. I don't need to be the Latino first to do anything. I'm just Sammy Publes, who happened to be born in Cuba and is doing good work, period. Everything else that comes with that is attached, and the labels and this and that, that's up to the audience. That's up to the people watching. And so if I remember going on campus at Western Michigan and seeing these men dressed up, and they were fraternal men, Alpha Phi Alpha, Omega Psi Phi, Kappa Alpha Psi. And I remember looking at these men and saying, there's no men that look like me that are wearing these letters. So I started investigating what is this whole Greek life about, and came to find out that there had been a Latino fraternity on campus in the past. I decided to start it back up. This also goes with the whole networking conversation we were having. And so after like 6 years of not being on campus, we came back. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this story is because my ship, my line, the brothers that came with me and that refounded this were not all Latinos. We had an Indian brother, we had a Filipino brother. But the point was we all came from the same background. There were 6 of us, Bolivian, Puerto Rican, Filipino, Cuban, Indian, and Puerto Rican. And what we all had in common was the change that we wanted to do. It had nothing to do with who we were as a person, but the work that we were doing. So I say this all to say, through my companies and through my work, I've been able to see the impact and the change that I can do as an individual, and then let everybody else put those labels on you. Because that's how society works, right? We need to have little groups so we can say, oh, that group and this group. I don't accept that system. I don't take part in it. I happen to be who I am because of who I was born, but my qualities are my qualities. The things that I've accomplished are because of my parents and the people that impacted my life. So therefore, through One World Diversity, our corporate kind of arm of our theater, what we decided to do is do the same thing. Oh, this is how it's usually done. People come up here and talk to human resources about, these are the things that you should be doing. These are the people we should be accepting. I said, I don't like that system. I'm going to start a whole, or take a system, an existing system, and tailor it for my strengths and for my needs. And through both of my companies, we've been able to do great things in our community. Through One World, we're able to be part of the diversity and equality conversation here in Grand Rapids, from gentrification to LGBT issues to police brutality issues. I'm able to speak my voice through that. And the feedback that we've gotten has been very positive in the form of other people wanting us to come speak at their event or wanting us to come do some type of lectures. I'm going this weekend. I actually changed my ticket so I can be at your function, sir. I wouldn't miss that for the world. But I'll be speaking in DC on Saturday about Latino and African American unity when it comes to fraternal and sorority life on campuses. That's something that I've been doing more and more the last year or so. Just because of unity-wise, we tend to separate each other in these subgroups of colleges and universities, and we really just are fighting for the crumbs. And I've always been the person to say, let's fight for the pie. Like, we're getting the little crumbs, and we want to argue about, well, you got $10 last year, but now you're only going to get $5 because now I'm on campus. It's like, no, the problem is the system, not these small little, let's refocus the conversation here. I don't accept what you're giving me. I think it's BS. I don't agree with this. The real problem is this. And so the last 6 months or so, being a member of Sigma Lambda Beta here as an alumni, I've been able to reach out to the National Pan-Hellenic Council, which is mostly the Divine Nine sororities and fraternities, African-American sororities and fraternities, and we've been able to come together on a local level. Now I'm trying to do that on a national level. That's just another extension of who I am. That doesn't change what I'm doing in my community through my organizations, doesn't change what I've done at the Roosevelt Park neighborhood with the Art Prize installation and telling the stories of the residents that lived there before, really diving deep into this whole gentrification issue that we have going on in Grand Rapids that we kind of forget about because of all the success that Grand Rapids is having. That's important to me, but it's not important because I decide, Monday and Wednesday I'm going to tackle community relations, and Tuesday and Thursday. It's all part of who I am anyway, so it's just another extension of what I do. It doesn't necessarily have to be a uniform kind of idea of how you go about it. If that's who I am in my core, my work is going to reflect all the different facets of who I am as a human being.
I went from being a person that didn't quite know what she wanted to do, but knew that she had a desire to work with people, to pursuing a master's in counseling and being a licensed professional counselor, right? So that journey, placing myself strategically in situations and jobs that's going to give me that confirmation, right? Always looking for that. And what I'm going into confirming that this is what I want to do. And eventually it did, right? It led me to this point to say, wow, I have that degree. I have this licensure. I'm now able to have that exposure in which I want to, right? And so I coordinate GRCC's 3-year suicide prevention grant here on campus. It allows me the opportunity to work hand in hand with students in distress, teaching in classes, working outside in my communities, right? And there's a lot of crises. There's a lot of crises in our community. You as college students, what a transitional period in your lives. What a crucial place to be in right now, in your seats. There's a lot of things going on. Your home lives, trying to fit in, trying to understand what this unclear college expectation is of you, right? There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of home issues going on for you. I can just imagine, but it's happening here. So it allows me, I've always been in that position where, how do I get to be in places where I can work with people at the level in which they need that crucial help, right? Before I pursued a master's in counseling, I was working in Head Start, as a family services worker. That particular position allowed me to do home visits and work with a lot of families. It wasn't, although I knew I wanted to pursue the counseling by that point, right? But it wasn't until I was in that particular position where I was seeing the state where these kids are living in, right? The need that was happening, that really gave me the push to say, you know what, don't even wait a year. Go for it, apply for it right away. Go for that master's as soon as you can, because I couldn't be in a position that just led me to provide resources. I knew that the needs in our community, that the needs that these individuals that I was servicing was more than just providing resources. These individuals needed counseling. These individuals needed that elevated help, right? And I couldn't provide that at that moment in time. So I wasn't content. I knew I had to always ask, what's more? What's next? What is next? And so being a counselor is one of the most rewarding positions. It's a ministry. It's not a job, right? I service people. I work for you. I work for you all, right? But it's one that I have to constantly remind myself every morning, you can do this, right? No matter what the day comes about, because it's so unexpected. We don't know what tomorrow will look like for us, right? I always have to make sure that I'm grounded, that I'm taken care of, that I know how to take care of myself so that I can help others. So I'm in the best position I can possibly be. This is what I've always wanted for myself, right? But again, I'm not a miracle worker. I can't fix. I'm here to guide. I'm here to walk through life with you. And so this is a journey. This is a dual relationship that we have with each other. And so being in this position, I'm like, wow, what a great place to be, right? When this suicide prevention position came to my doorstep, it was a scary one. I was like, wait a minute, suicide, bye, right? But then I was like, wait a minute, Hilda. Take a moment, take a deep breath. Why are you running away from this position? And if you're running away from it, why don't you turn back around and head towards it? You don't know the opportunities that this position may open up. You don't know how many lives you may be able to touch. And I did, I took the risk. So there are situations and certain opportunities that may come your way, that may present to your doorstep, that you blatantly will be scared. You will ask yourself, no, why? Why is this showing up to me? Why me, right? But I'm telling you, you have to be able to take that leap. You have to fly. You've got to do it. You don't know what's at the other side of that, right? So I work with the best people on campus. I don't do this job alone. I recognize suicide prevention is everybody's business, right? We all have a role in this. Saving lives is everybody's role. It's not just mine, right? And so I bring certain people, I connect with them. I show up at their door, I knock, hey, I'm Hilda, this is what I do, let's connect, right? I look for opportunities, as everyone here has done before, and that's what it takes. So you have to be able to take that risk. Be a risk taker. Do it. Do it. So.
Well, the impact I've had in my field, I would say the impact I've had in my field. Well, let me start from the beginning. As you may or may not know, I'm a technician for Tesla Motors, and I fix and repair Tesla automobiles daily. And a lot of people, you probably see it on the news a lot. People talk about autonomous vehicle technology and electric vehicles and things like that. It's kind of like a scary new subject. It's almost like a subcategory of automobiles, and a lot of technicians and automotive professionals and people like that, they don't know much about that. And to them, it's kind of almost like a scary new subject. And the impact I'm having on my field is I get to go to other past technicians and work that I worked with. I get to go to automotive professionals right here at GRCC, and I get to showcase that technology to them. I get to show them, hey, this is how it works. This is how the future is going to be. A lot of people, might say that's not the future, but 10 years ago, none of us had one of these. So it's kind of a crazy new future for the automotive world, and I might be a small portion of it right now, but Tesla, when I joined in 2010, we only built about 1,000 cars. It was a very, very small company. Now we've produced over 220,000 cars. So the growth in this field is exponential. And one thing I've been talking with the GRCC professionals too here is potentially even building, spearheading one of the first electric vehicle, autonomous vehicle courses for the country, basically. And that would be quite a groundbreaking achievement for the college, so, yep.
The impact that I've had, I guess, in my community and in my field, it's been very, I guess, versatile. I'm very passionate about getting people who look and live like me to be more civically engaged. And as one of the parts of an organization who unapologetically does that, talks politics with people every month, I hop on urban radio every week and talk to listeners about something that they probably would have only heard about on NPR otherwise. And I use all of my experiences, from the girl who was living in the UP to relating to people in Houghton and Marquette, and with all of those engineering friends and all those linear-minded folks that I really enjoyed meshing with in that setting, to being that girl from Benton Harbor with a completely different type of people, and realizing how, with all of my knowledge now, to be the voice in both spaces. And what that looks like is it can be someone tuning in to 97.3 to hear the new Kendrick or the new Drake or the new DJ Khaled, and then they hear me. And I'm like, let's talk about gerrymandering. And it's great because what I've done is just really invited so many more people to a conversation that they didn't currently feel like they were a part of. And it's really spilled over into all these other places in my life. I mean, I'll be at the movies in line to see Girls Trip, and someone will be like, yeah, I know you. I definitely watched your show. It's good. Yep, I watched the one where you talked to Commissioner What's-His-Face, and it was good. And I love that. It makes me so happy. So that's probably one of the areas where I feel like I get to be most impactful. Outside of the radio and the politics, I believe there's this whole other part of community organizing that has totally become one of my super passion points with my work at Link Up. Link is integral in so many spaces, not just in Grand Rapids, but all over the county. And being a safe space for many of the community's marginalized voices to come in and be heard on topics that are touchy for them, right? Whether we're talking about policing, or we're talking about gentrification, or we're talking about food. I was sitting at my office last week, and up comes the Feeding America semi-truck, and there are you think it's Black Friday. There are just families with laundry baskets and bags all the way wrapped around on the south side of Grand Rapids. And I thought to myself, I can go downtown and hang out for happy hour, but I get to be a part of an organization that does this, you know what I mean? Or I can go help give out potatoes and watermelon and food to people who really badly need it, and primarily people that look like, Latino residents on the south side, African American residents on the south side. I think being a piece of Link is a huge impact for me. Link right now is in the middle of planning for the Community Spirit Awards. It's the 9th annual one. Last year we brought in Van Jones from CNN, who spoke and really shook up some things in Grand Rapids. This year we're bringing in Sean King, Black Lives Matter activist and author, huge social media maven, and that's one of those projects that I spend every day working on. And I love it. I think my impact in the community is not just politics. It's not just my work at Link as a communications coordinator, but then it's being a mom. It's having a 1-year-old, beautiful little brown boy at home and working with him every day to make sure he's comfortable in every corner of his community. It's taking him with me to go hang out with the commissioners and to go to dinner with the board. And Braden is that 1-year-old that is always on my side, because I believe that's a huge part of my impact in the community. It's being a good mom. I think at 24, you can get lost in all the things that are happening around you. Sometimes I just have to turn off the news because I will frustrate myself and everyone around me because I can't fix all the world's problems. And usually that saving grace for me is just getting to get on the floor and crawl around with a 1-year-old and be like, yeah, this is the most important impact that I can have in the world right now, and I'm okay with that. And I love it. So that's all of, I guess, in my field, in my community, in my life, that's where I feel that I see the most impact. And it's a huge blessing, so yeah.
Thank you, panelists. So we're going to go to a tabletop discussion. You'll see a blue sheet on your table. If you could pick one person at your table to write on that blue sheet and one person to speak out about it after this tabletop discussion is over. Oh, yes.
All right, good afternoon? No, good afternoon. Gotta wake up with me now. There's food over there waiting, so I know you guys gotta wake up here. I want to first of all thank you guys for being here this afternoon. This is cool stuff. For you to listen to some of our students who've gone through what some of you are going through right now, that's good stuff. I'll give you some advice on that here in a little bit, but would you please again help me thank those who were on the panel this morning. That was good stuff. You guys need to know that we're proud of you. We are proud of you for what you mean to not only this community, but how you represent GRCC. So we are very proud of you, and thank you for what you do for us. Let me share something with you real quick, and I just need you to listen to this because I need to encourage you on a couple of things here. So I'm gonna tell you a story that I've told several people on this campus before. It's a true story. It wasn't my best moment, but sometimes in your worst moments, you learn some lessons, okay? So several people on campus have heard this one. So this goes back several years ago. We have 2 children in our family. My daughter, Lydia, is 14. Our son, Lance, is 22 years old. We moved to Grand Rapids from Oklahoma City about 2.5 years ago. Our son, Lance, who's 22, when he was in 6th grade, he was getting ready. We were actually helping him on his 6th grade picnic, right? The end of school year, right? That's what way they did, down in Oklahoma City, where we came from. That was kind of the thing to do. You're getting ready to leave elementary school, the 6th grade, last couple of days of school, you have a picnic, and so everyone celebrates the fact that they're going to get rid of you and you get to go to junior high. So my wife and I volunteered to work the picnic. Hundreds of 6th graders at this huge park, getting ready to celebrate their last few days of 6th grade. That has all kinds of trouble on it. So what happened is that it's in late May, and we're there at the park, and we're just kind of enjoying and just kind of watching what's going on and everything. I see a friend of our family. Her name is Becky. I see Becky walking toward me, and she's, we've known Becky for a while, so I kind of wave at Becky. She's coming over toward me, and she says, "Hey, Bill, how's it going?" So she walks over to me. And as I do people around GRC will tell you, I usually hug everybody I see just about. So, hey, got to give Becky a hug. So I go to give Becky a hug. As I'm hugging her, I'm saying, "Becky, it's so good to see you." In the last of May, if you're in Oklahoma, it's probably very windy. And the wind was up that day, and at the precise moment that I hugged Becky, her hair flew into my mouth as I'm hugging her, saying, "Becky, how you?" All of a sudden, hair blows and goes into my mouth, right? Instant cotton mouth. I had gum in my mouth that day. It's a true story. You can't make this stuff up. I had gum in my mouth. And as I pulled away, kind of coughing, trying to get, because cotton, I'm kind of going back and I'm going, hey, I'm trying to be cool still. Hey, yeah. I'm still trying to be cool. And I notice my gum is no longer in my mouth. So I kind of I'm talking to Becky, trying to stay cool, and I'm looking around on the ground, just hoping that maybe the gum was on the ground. And I don't see it anywhere. And so as we talked for a few moments, and I cannot tell you to this day what we talked about because my mind was not on anything she was saying. As she walked away, "Okay, good to see you, Bill." She walks away, and as I watch her walk away, they're dangling in her hair. Big white chunk of gum. All right, I have a decision to make here. She's walking away, I'm seeing that gum in her hair. And the decision is this. She has no idea that just happened. So she has no idea, even when she finds it, because she will find it, she has no idea who did it and how it happened. And so I'm home free. If I just remain quiet, don't say a word, she goes away, I enjoy the rest of the picnic, she gets angry here, however later it takes for her to find, and so she get angry and she wouldn't have any idea, it's me. I am home free. Or I can say something. I can speak up and I can say something to Becky so that I can help her situation be better, at least for her knowing, A, you got gum in your hair, and B, I'm sorry. Now, here's why I tell you that story. Because I think about you as students at GRCC when I think about what happened to me that day. Because let me tell you, it would have been very easy for me to just stay quiet and allow that whole situation to just disappear as far as my life is concerned. Wouldn't have to worry about it at all. I could just allow it to go away. And no one would say anything to me. No one would have to confront me about it. I could just allow it to disappear. Or I can speak up and I can say something about it. Here's why I think about you. You're a student here at our great college. You can find yourself in a situation this semester, next semester, however long you're here. You can hit one of those semesters where, as one of the panelists mentioned this morning, where life just gets in the way. Or where you're not sure about this class and whether, I'm struggling in this class, I'm not sure what I should do. Or you have something going on at home that, all this is going on, I'm trying to get this class done. You will actually have the opportunity to just disappear. And all of a sudden, GRCC never see you again. And for us, faculty, staff, administration of this college, we want to see every one of you be successful. As you heard 4 people today successful, we want that for every last one of you. But you have, and you will have, I promise you, you'll have the opportunity to just disappear on us. And we will sit and we'll hit another semester and we'll say, no, wait a minute, what happened to? And you will have gone. You will have either just stopped coming to class because it just seems easier just to disappear. Or you just won't come back the next semester because, and it's what I hear all the time, you know what, Dr. Pink, I just decided I need to take a semester or 2 off. Let me warn you about taking a semester or 2 off. It's really easy to do that and much harder to come back because life happens. I don't want you to just disappear. If you have some things going on, whether it be at home or in the classroom, you're not sure about it, don't just disappear. Say something. Say something. You have faculty who are all around you all the time. You have people sitting in this room right now who want to say, if you have problems, just come see me. You may have heard that already today. I just gave my card out to several people around in this room saying, you know what? If you have issues, question, something pops up on you, you don't know where to go, don't just disappear. You can email me. I'll get you connected to the people who can help you, but don't just stop. Because something that these panelists said today, 2 things stand out in my mind. Number 1, the more connected you become to this campus, the better off you're going to be in getting this done. Here's what I mean by connection. It is getting to know people. It is making sure you spend a little time in getting to know people. It's getting involved in some of the stuff that we have, that we offer out of student life. Just figure out what a connection is. It doesn't mean you have to be here every day, all day. It means that you might have to come up sometime when you don't really have class, but I'm part of this organization, I'm trying to make a change, I'm trying to do some good things on campus. The more connected you become, the more opportunity you will have to be successful in your college walk. Be connected. And the second thing I heard today, which I am so happy they said, find out what it means to have a mentor. Somebody who at least can hold you accountable and say, nope, I know you think you got to stay in bed today because you're no, but you need to get to class. So it's that accountability partner, and it's also that mentor. That person who can push you and say, no, we're going to get this done together. But also that person who is an adult who has been through some of this stuff. You saw 4 people up here who I guarantee you, I'm going to go ahead and volunteer them. I saw 4 people today who probably would gladly say, you know what? Yeah, I'll help you out. Just ask me. But that person who you can say, so how'd you get this done? How'd you do it? Because here's the difficulty I have. How'd you get this done? Those are things, if you want to think about how you become successful, being successful is intentional. You gotta be intentional. You gotta just plan it out and say, here's how I'm gonna get this done. Because success doesn't just accident. Just doesn't come as an accident. Sometimes, I won the lottery. Okay, yeah, you won the lottery. What are you going to do after that? Well, yeah, whatever. Your success as far as this life is concerned in this economy that you and I live in, you got to be intentional. And your intentionality says, I'm going to connect to this campus, I'm going to connect to my education experience, and I'm going to get people who will help me push and make sure it gets done. Because you are at a college that actually is known all across this country. I get the privilege of going to different places around this country, and I hear, when I say, well, I'm the president of GRCC, it's always that, oh, you're in Grand Rapids. Because we have a reputation, not only nationally, friends, we got a reputation right here in this community. So you're a part of a really good college. Get it done so you have a sheet of paper that says, graduate, Grand Rapids Community College, because there are people in this area that'll say, oh, so you graduated from GRCC. And you have an opportunity at that point. Take this thing serious because you have an opportunity to do some really cool things. You don't believe me? You just saw 4 people who are living proof of it. Now, I didn't come I was supposed to just close this thing. I am so sorry. Okay, no, I'm not. I'm glad you guys are here today. And anything that we can do to help you along this journey, because I would love to see 2 things for each one of you today. 2 things I want to see. Number 1, I want to see you one day walk across the stage and wearing a really funny-looking dress, funny-looking hat. I want to see you walk across the stage, and I want to be there to shake your hand and say congratulations. I want to see you there one day. And the other place I want to see you is on a panel of GRCC alum talking about your journey, where you are and where you're going. That's what I want to see of each and every one of you. You got lunches back there. Those are box lunches. Please give one more hand to our people who are on the panel today. Thank you guys for coming. Get you a lunch. I appreciate you. Raider Nation, you're dismissed.